So this is the fourth lecture of ATD. The last lecture we have covered path, processes, and equilibrium, etc., etc. So there is a poll which is active now. Please vote to it. Question is thermal equilibrium is achieved when? Okay. So in last lecture we have studied there are 4 types of equilibrium. There is mechanical equilibrium, there is thermal equilibrium, there is chemical equilibrium, there is a phase equilibrium, etc., etc. So question here it is, thermal equilibrium is achieved when? Thermal equilibrium is achieved when? So only 19 people have voted. Others hope they are very awake. And if you are absent in last lecture, then don't vote. Don't just give any random answers. So we'll recover or we'll revise yesterday's concept. Don't worry. "24 people have voted." Okay. So here the thing is, majority of people, about 15 people or 16 people have voted for option number B, that is temperature remains constant, and which is the correct answer, right? When the temperatures of two bodies become equal, right? In that case, we can say that they are under thermal equilibrium. When the forces are balanced, then we can say the system is under mechanical equilibrium. When the reaction is completed, chemical reaction is completed, then we can say the system is under chemical equilibrium. When all these equilibriums are present simultaneously, we say it is under thermodynamic equilibrium. Okay. Right. So you can see your results also. These are the results, and the correct answer here it is B. So those people who voted for option number A, kindly remember that forces are balanced. That means it is under, or the system is under mechanical equilibrium. I have given the example of seesaw. In seesaw, like when that plank becomes flat horizontal, that means forces are balanced. The system is under mechanical equilibrium. Okay. Right. Now, okay, let me ask you another question. Let us see how many of you can answer it. Okay. Yes. So next poll I have launched. Next question is there. Please go to the question. You can see the question is there. Isobaric processes. So yesterday we have seen number of processes. The types of processes we have seen yesterday. In that we have seen isochoric, isobaric, isothermal, isentropic, isenthalpic, etc., etc. So enter your votes. What is the isobaric process? What is a isobaric process? So 12 people have voted. Don't go to the Google, okay? Don't go to the Google and search for isobaric and show how smart you are. Just give a random answer. Just give an honest answer, okay? Don't go to the Google or don't open the book and show you teacher that how smart you are. Don't do that. Just give honest answer. Honesty in life will take you forward, okay? Honesty is very important. The more you remain honest, the more trustworthy you will become. Okay, in companies also, some employees try to do fraud. They try to show or they try to snatch others' efforts, but that is not honesty. At the end, the manager is not very foolish person. He is well qualified. He knows every employee. He knows who is honest, who is dishonest. So that manager will or your behavior ultimately will be reflected in your performance review. So in companies, at the end of every month, there will be a performance review. If you're trying to be dishonest, trying to snatch others' efforts, trying to show some fake data, so you will be caught. So never do that things. Never try to take others' efforts, credit on others' efforts. Try to do your own effort. Be honest as max as possible. Right. So college or school, these are very holy places. Why they are said holy places? Because we taught not only subjects, but also we tell you such things. So once you graduate and go into the open market, we call it as an open market because it is very cruel. Nobody will understand your feelings. Nobody will give a damn about how you feel, etc. So in that case, you want to survive in this wild or open market, your efforts and your honesty will take you forward. Okay, so the correct answer here it is constant pressure process. Yes, isobaric process is a constant pressure process. Isochoric is a constant volume process. Isothermal is a constant temperature process. That means when a system changes its state from 1 to 2, its temperature remains constant. Okay, I'm sharing the results. You can check. These are the results. Correct answer is C. Okay. So with this, we'll start today's lecture. Let us see what we have nowadays today. So I hope my screen is visible. Okay, so we'll first revise yesterday's and then we can move forward. Okay, wait, no, not this one. So where is yesterday's thing? Okay, yes, here. Right. Right. So we are yesterday in the last lecture, we have seen path and processes. So any change in the system undergoes from one equilibrium state to another is known as process. Yes. Series of states through which system passes during the process is known as its path. So this was the graph property B versus property A, right? Initially it was at state 1. Let us say this property B here it is pressure, property A here it is volume. So initially it has very low pressure, low volume. In state 2, it has high volume and high pressure, right? So in this case, what is happening? It is going from low pressure, low volume to high pressure and high volume. But it will not go directly from 1 to 2. It will follow some steps. If you plot those steps on this graph, this path will be generated. Again, this path will be a continuous line like this if processes are cost static. If the processes are not cost static, that will be a dashed line. Okay. Now, what is a cost static? So, cost static processes are very slow. It appears as if they are under equilibrium, but they are continuously changing. Because of their speed, low speed, we plus water, we feel that they are under equilibrium, but they are constantly changing. Non-cost static processes are fast, and we can easily see the changes happening in the system. Right. So cost static process is this, very slow is taking. Non-cost static process is fast. Cost static process is shown by continuous line, and non-cost static is shown by dashed lines. Okay. Then we have seen number of processes. So isochoric means the volume remains constant. Now you will see, sir, how we know that this in this process volume is constant. So see, initially, what is the volume at the state 1? So yesterday I have shown you, or once again I will show you. So to know the volume, you have to come down to this axis. There will be some value here. So initially this was the value. And when the state 2 comes, what will be value again? Again, you have to draw a vertical line. You will get the same value. That means volume remains same. But if you say the pressure, in this case, this was the initial pressure, and it increases to this pressure. So pressure is changing, but volume is constant. So that is a isochoric process. Okay. Next is isobaric process. So in that case, pressure is remaining constant, but volume changes. Isenthalpic. So what is the enthalpy? What is entropy? That we'll see later. But for now, assume that enthalpy is a form of energy in flow. Entropy is a property of system, which is related to its randomness. Okay. So I'm very sure in diploma you have heard this thing, but your teachers probably would have given more emphasis on remembering or mugging up the things. Now in this semester, I will try to explain you these things. What is entropy? What is enthalpy? Step by step. Okay. So give your energy and time to understanding things in engineering. Okay. So even you will pass examinations definitely by mugging up things. There will be handwritten notes available. You will read it, you will write it, or if it is MCQ examination, then it will be more easy to giving the MCQ or online examination. But in the long run, it will not be beneficial because you are not understood the concept. Okay. Nowadays, the scenario in industry is that they are hiring mechanical engineer, electronic engineer in this area. Why they are hiring? If you see the financial record of these big MNCs like Tata, Wipro, there are in millions, right? So the news will come in papers that Tataचं turnover एवढा झाला, Wiproचा turnover एवढा झाला, TCSचा किंवा Infosysचा turnover millions मध्ये असतो, right? Why they are growing? Because they are changing their domain. Initially त्यांचा domain फक्त computer related projects वर होता, जसं की software बनवणे, app बनवणे. Nowadays their focus has become multi-domain. So they are taking projects of mechanical also, they are taking projects of civil, ENTC, etc. So that's why they are hiring all students from all branches. Now, when you as a mechanical will go in suppose some IT company, in that case, they are expecting that you know the basic concepts of mechanical engineering. There you cannot say, sir, I just marked the examination, sir, I don't remember now. So that excuse cannot be heard in industry. Industry म्हणजे आपण मी नेहमी सांगतो की कॉलेजेस मध्येच काय तर ते तुमची डेमोक्रेसी असेल because in Sweri we give more importance to the students. We ask students whether they are understanding. We ask students, is there any problem? We give importance and voice to the students. And in everywhere you'll see in college, democracy will be observed. But once you go into the industry, there is a capitalism. Okay, so those who read books, they know the difference between democracy and capitalism. Capitalism is purely based on profits. Companies are trying to maximize their profits. There your performance only will be counted. Okay, so understand the concept. It is expected from mechanical engineer that they know the concept of thermodynamics, they know the concept of SOM, TOM, what are other subjects, RAC, HMT, etc. Right? Okay. And last year it is isothermal. In isothermal, temperature remains constant. Then we have seen the cycle. What is the cycle? In cycle, the starting and ending state is same. So see here, example is there. This is a state 1. Initially, it has gone from 1 to 2 by following this path. Let us say this is path A, and it has returned from 2 to 1 by following path B. So path is not same here. Okay, path is not same here. This is a path A, this is path B, and hence it has completed a cycle. Why cycle? Because initial and final states are identical. Okay, so I have given an example yesterday also. If you take a glass of water, increase the temperature, right? Let us say initial temperature was 30 degrees Celsius. You have increased the temperature to, let us say, 60 degrees Celsius, right? Then again, you have allowed that glass of water to cool. Now after cooling, again its temperature if it reaches to 30 degrees Celsius, in that case we can say it has completed a cycle. Initial and final states are identical, so it has completed a cycle. Definitely, when we are hitting the glass of cup of glass or a glass of water, in that case we have applied external heat source, let us say stove, gas stove, right? When it was cooling, obviously it has gone through another path. Maybe we have used cooling water, or just by sitting in the atmosphere air, its temperature might have reduced. So that is why there are separate two paths. When these paths are identical, that means a system has gone from state 1 to state 2 by this path, path A, and it has returned by the same path, then we can say that is a reversible process. That means it has reversed on its own. When the paths are different, then we have to say it is a irreversible process. So that lays the foundation to the reversible and irreversible processes. So before going deep into this, I want to let you know that why we are studying reversible and irreversible processes. So students have to first understand the motive, then and then their interest will be generated. Okay. So see, thing here it is, reversible cycle or reversible processes have maximum efficiency. Okay, in that case, what is happening? The process returns on its initial conditions on its own. So there you don't have to apply, or the total heat interaction is 0, total work interaction is 0. In irreversible, what happens? The system does not come to its initial state on its own. Okay, you can return it to the initial state, but you have to do again some process. So all the real life examples are irreversible. If you take a cup of tea or coffee, right? तुम्ही कॉफी गरम कॉफी करता, तुम्ही कपात ओतता, थोड्याने काय होतं, कॉफी थंड व्हायला लागते. So what is happening in that case? It is losing its heat, and that losing of heat is a irreversible process. You cannot go back in the atmosphere, collect that heat, and put again into the cup, and that is temperature will rise. So it will not happen. Again, you have to put it on gas if you want to make it hot. Right. So in irreversible processes, the total heat and work exchange is 0 because you are adding heat, again you are subtracting the heat, so that becomes 0. So there is another example of pendulum. So if you give an initial tilt to the pendulum and release it, initially तुम्ही फक्त pendulum थोडा खेचला आणि सोडून दिला, त्यानंतर काय होणार आहे, त्याच्या ते स्विंग होत राहणार आहे. So in that case, what is happening? It is returning to its initial position on its own. You are not, if it goes from this position to this position, again you don't have to push from this position to this position. पेंडुलम सुरुवातीला तुम्ही एवढाच खेचला आणि सोडून दिला तरी चालतंय. इथं खेचला, परत इथून पेंडुलम जर इथपर्यंत गेला, इथं परत तुम्हाला इकडून ढकलायची गरज नाही, राईट. सारखं तुम्ही इकडून टाकलायची काय गरज नाही. एकदा तुम्ही फक्त सोडून दिला तर तो त्याच्या स्विंग होत जातो. सो दॅट इज द example of reversible process. It comes back to its initial position or initial state on its own. Provided the friction at the joint is zero. If there is a friction at the joint, obviously there will be friction in real life. Because of friction, after some time, the pendulum will come to the rest. Right? If the friction is zero, identically or hypothetically or imaginary, then pendulum will swing for infinite number of times. Right? So this is a very good example or very close example to the reversible processes. Right? Most of the processes in the nature are irreversible. So there is this cup of tea. Now a hot cup of coffee cools down when exposed to surrounding. So what is happening in this case? You have a very hot cup of coffee. What will happen after some time? It will lose its heat into the atmosphere. Barabar? And its temperature will drop. Now you cannot go back into the atmosphere. म्हणजे परत तुम्ही atmosphere मध्ये गेलाय, नाही मला ती एनर्जी माझी महागारी दे, इथून परत कलेक्ट केले, इथून कलेक्ट केले, इथून कलेक्ट केले, इथून कलेक्ट केले आणि परत तुम्ही ते रिटर्न टाकायला लागलाय. तर हे if it is possible then it will be reversible process, but it is not possible. एकदा ती हीट हवामानात गेली किंवा हवेत गेली तर ती एकदाची निघून गेली. You cannot go back and trace that energy from air. एअरला तुम्ही सांगणार नाही नाही माझी एनर्जी परत दे आणि मग ती एनर्जी तुम्ही कपला देणार आणि परत कपचं टेम्परेचर वाढणार. सो दॅट इज नॉट अ ऍक्च्युअल केस. ऍक्च्युअल मध्ये असं होत नाही. तुम्हाला जर परत जर कॉफी गरम करायची असेल तर तुम्हाला परत ती स्टोव्हवर ठेवावं लागेल. राईट. Now it is possible. So yesterday I have given you example of Doctor Strange from Marvel Universe. So there is very famous superhero in Marvel Universe, that is Doctor Strange. He can do such kind of things. He can again reverse the energy flow and again your coffee will become hot. So that way that process will become reversible. So Doctor Strange is again very good or understandable example for students like you. Okay. But warm up by gaining heat from surrounding, it is not possible without external heat supply. In that case, external heat supply means again if you want to increase the temperature of coffee, you have to put it on stove. So that is very good example of irreversible processes. So I hope you're understanding what is reversible and irreversible. So why reversible processes? Easy to analyze as system passes through a series of equilibriums. Serve as idealized models. So these processes are very ideal for actual processes to be compared for analysis, right? So as we will study this chapter, we'll come across Carnot cycle. Carnot cycle is very ideal cycle for heat engines. So always we compare actual things with the ideal things, right? So we pray to the god, right? आपल्या इंडियन मायथॉलॉजी मध्ये गॉड्स आहेत, वेगवेगळे देव आहेत, आपण देवांची पूजा करतो. तर असं का आहे? बिकॉज देव हा जो कन्सेप्ट आहे, वी आर अज्युमिंग इट इज व्हेरी आयडियल पर्सन, राईट? म्हणजे भगवान महादेव असतील किंवा भगवान गणेश असतील किंवा भगवान मारुती असतील, सगळे आपल्यासाठी आयडियल आहेत. त्यांना आपण पूजा करतो. त्यांच्या ज्या काही क्वालिटीज आहेत, त्यांची ताकद असेल, त्यांचा पेशन्स असेल, एक्सेट्रा एक्सेट्रा, त्यांचं काही शौर्य असेल, ते सगळं कसं आपल्यासाठी आयडियल आहे आणि आपण त्याची पूजा करतो. सो इट इज ऑलवेज डन लाईक दॅट. देर इज सम आयडियल मॅन इज देअर. वी आर कम्पेअरिंग ourselves with that ideal man. We can like nowadays or when we were in college, that time we used to see Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam as our idol. We wanted to become like him, right? So like that way, in processes also, we have some ideal processes and we compare the actual processes with the ideal processes. And then we calculate the efficiency. So how efficiency is calculated? So we compare the actual processes with the ideal processes, right? So nowadays, again, there is a boom of electric vehicles, right? But the question comes, are they really efficient? म्हणजे आधी आपण आयसी इंजिन वापरत होतो, ठीक आहे, त्यात काहीतरी प्रॉब्लेम्स यायला लागले, जसं की डिझेलची किंमत वाढल्या असतील, पेट्रोलची किंमत वाढली असतील, किंवा एकंदरीत त्यातनं जे इमिशन्स बाहेर पडतात त्यावर आपला कंट्रोल राहिला नसेल, त्याचे काही लिमिटेशन्स होते, त्यामुळे आपण कशाच्या शिफ्ट झालो, इलेक्ट्रिक व्हेकल्स. नाउ द क्वेश्चन कम्स, आर दे रिअली इफिशियंट? ठीक आहे. So in order to compare that, you need some ideal datum. एक डेटमची तुम्हाला गरज असते, त्याच्या कंपॅरिझन मध्ये तुम्ही बाकीच्या गोष्टी कंपेअर करू शकता. Then you can say that electric vehicle is more efficient than IC engines. So many people argue on that also. They say that electric vehicles receive their electricity, right? Then for generating electricity, you have to burn coal, right? So ultimately the emissions will be same. So like that way, the industry is under a phase change, right? It is under revolution. We cannot say that completely that electric vehicles are emissions free, right? So they are, or the engineers are doing research how we can make electric vehicles more green and more sustainable, right? Green means we don't want emissions. Sustainable means all the resources what we are using, and there should be some resources to be left for the next generation. असं नाही की आपण सगळं खाऊन गेलो ना, आपले येणारे मुलं किंवा त्यांची मुलं आपल्याला शिव्या घालत बसतील की आमच्या वडिलांनी आमच्या आजोबांनी आमच्यासाठी काहीच ठेवलं नाही. So sustainability should be also be there. Resources should be there for next generation. So that comes under sustainability. And green means there should not be any emissions. So like that way, engineers are doing research on electric vehicles. Right? So always there should be some ideal model so that we can compare with it, right? So I am giving this lecture on my laptop, right? It has 8 GB RAM, it has a 4 GB graphics card, etc, etc. But again, there are some computers, super computers, whose RAM is 64 GB, graphics is 12 GB, etc, etc. So like for this computer, that will be an ideal scenario. Okay. Again, in this laptop also, if I compare 8 GB and 4 GB graphics card, so there are number of companies are there. HP is there, Lenovo is there, Dell is there, and then you can compare based on their performances which one is better. So always it is advised that you go with the ideal scenarios, and then you can compare actual ones with the ideal scenarios, right? So it is viewed as theoretical limit for corresponding irreversible one. Reversible procedure leads to the definition of second law efficiency, which is degree of approximation to the corresponding reversible processes. So what is it? We'll see in second law. No rush now. We'll see slow. So with reversible processes, the design becomes better. It lowers the irreversibilities. Irreversibility, in other words, they can be also termed as losses. It lowers the losses, and the second law efficiency increases. Okay. So I hope you are able to understand now what is the importance of reversible processes. Right. So with that, this concept of reversible and irreversible closes. Next, we'll see what are the properties in the thermodynamics. So there are some properties like temperature, pressure, volume, mass, energy, etc, etc. So if you have any doubt up to this point, you can ask. I will explain once again. If you don't have any doubt, you can move further. So I hope you have understood the concept of irreversible and reversible processes. Okay. So first thermodynamic property we'll study here, it is temperature. It is very old property that you have been studying from your school days, right? So for temperature, there is no exact definition. It is generally termed as degree of hotness, degree of coldness. So my body temperature is greater than yours. Again, in some cases, there will be some superior whose temperature is higher than me. So it is a relative phenomena. Temperature, you cannot say a universe definition. It is a relative phenomena. माझं टेम्परेचर तुमच्यापेक्षा जास्त आहे की तुमचं टेम्परेचर माझ्यापेक्षा कमी आहे. So that is a relative phenomena. So broad definition here it is degree of hotness and coldness. This definition is based on our psychological sensation. So like I told you, it is a relative phenomenon. Hence may be misleading, right? So in order to do that, we have to measure the temperature, right? How to measure the temperature? Again, there will be some ideal scenario. There will be a 0 degree Celsius temperature in some cases. So that will be your reference temperature, and from that you can measure the other temperatures, right? So just a minute. Okay, let us continue. So for example, metallic chair may feel cold than wooden chair even at same temperature, right? So what does that mean, right? So I will explain this to you. It is very relatable phenomena. Actually, I give this example while teaching refrigeration and air conditioning. So this is very simple experiment you can do now also. So what you have to do? So you have two hands, I suppose, right? So from one hand, you have to touch a metal. Okay, touch any metal nearby. You can take your key or in a kitchen, or if you have a metal bottle, you can touch that metal, right? So I hope you have done that. Now from other hand, you have to touch non-metal. You can touch wood, you can touch plastic, you can touch cotton, etc., etc. Okay. Now my question here it is, which one is hotter and which one is cooler? त्यातलं कुठलं टेम्परेचर तुम्हाला जास्त वाटतंय? Okay, so again I will repeat the exercise. You have two hands. On one hand, you have to touch a metal. You can touch any metal like key or bottle, metal bottle. Other hand, you have to touch a wood, or you can touch plastic, or you can touch wool, anything, non-metal. Now my question here it is, which one is hotter and which one is cooler? Okay, Sanket is saying non-metal. Shivraj is saying non-metal. Others also please do the experiment. Without you doing that experiment, you will not understand. Very simple experiment is there. You have to touch a metal by one hand and you have to touch a non-metal by other hand. Very simple experiment you can do at home also by doing this lecture also. Because without doing that, you will not understand what I am trying to say. Right? So what about others? Others, how you feel? So Shivraj and Sanket has given answer that non-metal. Aditi is saying non-metal is hotter than metal. Okay, right? Okay. Right now, I assume that all are having smartphones and they can check the temperature. The temperature of your city, you can check wherever you are. The temperature will be same, right? In all the cases, the temperature of metal, the temperature of wooden, the temperature of plastic is one and the same. Temperature is not different in this case, right? So you feel metal as cool, you feel non-metal as hot. That is just a sensation, and it is happening because of heat transfer, right? So metal has higher thermal conductivity, so that heat transfer will be more. Wood and plastic, they have very low thermal conductivity, so the heat transfer will be less. So thermal conductivity will decide the rate of heat transfer. In case of metal, heat transfer is more. That is why you feel it as cool. In case of non-metal, thermal conductivity is less. That is why heat transfer will be lower. and you feel it is hotter than metal. So this is very confusing. तुम्हाला असं वाटेल की अरे नाही मेटलचं टेम्परेचर कमी आहे, वूडचं टेम्परेचर जास्त आहे. तुम्ही जर थर्मोमीटर घेतला किंवा थर्मोकपलनं टेम्परेचर मेजर केलं तर टेम्परेचर तुम्हाला सेमच सापडेल. मग तुम्ही कन्फ्युज होता अरे काय व्हायला लागलंय. So it is related to purely heat transfer. Okay, I hope you understood. So that is the meaning of this statement here. Metallic chair may feel cold than wooden chair even at same temperature. So it is related to sensation and heat transfer. Properties of materials change with time. So there are properties like specific heat or density also. It changes with time, with temperature, right? So how? So if you boil water, its temperature increases. The layer which is in contact with or at the bottom, its temperature will increase. It will become less dense and it will go to the top. Then new water will come and this cycle will be repeated. Again, if you see in our environment also, hotter air or all these pollutants coming from vehicles, they are having high temperature. That is why their density is less and they go in upward direction. They don't settle on ground. And the air which is dense, like in our this season, in winter season, air is dense because of fog. It will settle to the ground. Okay. So the density changes with temperature, specific heat that is also changing with temperature. So properties of materials change with temperature. Okay, voice is stucking, someone is saying. Is it the problem with all? So those for those voices stucking, they can exit the meeting and they can rejoin. Okay, that way that problem might be solved. Okay, I'll check my internet connection. There may be a problem with the internet connection. Now is it audible? Now is it audible properly without stucking? Okay. So I hope you understood the concept of temperature. It is a relative phenomena. It is related to your sensations, right? We can make use of this phenomena to reduce exact level of temperature. Now, how to do that? It is actually related to one law of the thermodynamics. First, we'll study that law. Then you can understand how to measure the temperature. Temperature scales. So you are very familiar with this. In SI system, the temperature scale is degrees Celsius. English system or European system, it is degree Fahrenheit. Again, in SI, we have Kelvin. In English system, we have Rankine-Cell. Okay. This is very common. I hope you all know. Right. So Shivraj, I will explain at the end of lecture. Now Celsius scale and Fahrenheit scale based on two easily reproducible fixed state, that is freezing and boiling points of water, right? So what they have done in this case, they have recorded the boiling point of water, freezing point of water. Freezing point of water we know at atmospheric conditions, that is 0 degrees Celsius. Boiling point is 100 degrees Celsius. Now, accordingly, they have created a scale of temperature, that is an ice point and steam point. Thermodynamics temperature scale, that is independent of properties of any substance, right? In conjunction with the second law of thermodynamics. So what is it saying? Temperature scale, that is the thermometer or thermocouple, it is independent of any other properties, right? Temperature scale is universal. जो इंडियात स्केल आहे तोच US मध्ये आहे, तोच युरोप मध्ये आहे, तोच रशिया मध्ये आहे. तोच थर्मोमीटर घेऊन तुम्ही कुठेही जाऊन टेम्परेचर मोजू शकता. Thermodynamic temperature scale There is Kelvin scale and Rankine scale. So generally we measure temperature or we consider temperature in Kelvin, right? Now you all may know what is 1 degree Celsius equivalent in Kelvin. Anybody know? 1 degree Celsius is how many Kelvin? 1 degree Celsius temperature is equivalent to how many kelvins, right? Asavari is saying 273. Okay, any other answer? Asavari is saying 273. So actually it is 273.15 Kelvin. It is equivalent to 1 degree Celsius, right? So I hope you know in your diploma, like Kelvin and Celsius, these are the two units we generally use. We don't go with the Fahrenheit. Again, there is a formula to convert degree Celsius into Fahrenheit. There is a formula like this: 9 by 5 degrees Celsius plus 32. So that will give you, or that will convert degree Celsius into per degree Fahrenheit, right? But we don't usually go with the Fahrenheit. The European scale is in Fahrenheit, right? We generally go with the SI system. So conversion factors, right? So these are the two scales are there. One is Kelvin scale and another is Rankine scale. In Kelvin scale, there is a bottom point here, it is 0 degrees Celsius or minus 273.15 sorry, 0 Kelvin and minus 273.15 degrees Celsius. And there is another point that is at 0 Kelvin or 273.16 Kelvin. So equivalent, if you say equivalent on the Rankine scale, 0 Kelvin, here it is 0 Rankine, but minus 273.15 degrees Celsius is here minus 459.67 Fahrenheit. This is just a conversion. So don't worry. This is just a conversion. So here 0.01 degrees Celsius is 32.2 degree Fahrenheit. So whenever we measure a body temperature, आपण डॉक्टरकडे जातो, डॉक्टर आपल्याला ताप आलेला असतो, in case we have fever, we go to the doctor and they measure the temperature in terms of degree Fahrenheit. म्हणजे तुम्हाला 98चा ताप आलाय, 99चा ताप आलाय, 100चा ताप आलाय, 100च्या वर गेल्यानंतर तुमचं केस क्रिटिकल होऊन जाते. So that is measured in terms of degree Fahrenheit, right? So can you convert it? Now let us say you have gone to the doctor, he has checked your body temperature. He is saying your body temperature is now 100 degree Fahrenheit, 100 degree Fahrenheit. Now can you convert that into degree Celsius? So just now in previous slide, I have given you example how to convert degree Fahrenheit, or sorry, degree Celsius into degree Fahrenheit, right? There is a formula I have given. Can you put into that formula and calculate what is 100 degree Fahrenheit is equivalent to how many degree Celsius? Yes, Yuvraj has calculated, others also calculate, right? So the question is here, you went to doctor, or don't, I won't say your name, just any person, randomly person who has fever. He has gone to the doctor, doctor has checked his body temperature. The temperature comes out to be 100 degree Fahrenheit. Doctor is shocked. He is saying you have to be admitted in hospital. My question is 100 degree Fahrenheit is how much degree Celsius? Okay, so once again, I will show you the formula here. So this is the formula here. Degree Fahrenheit equals 9 by 5 degrees into degree Celsius plus 32. Yes, Akanksha 37.78 degrees Celsius. Yes. And what is our body temperature? What is our body temperature? Our body temperature should lie between 34 or 35 degrees Celsius. See, even if it rises by just 2 degrees Celsius, we get fever. Okay, so you can imagine the power of temperature. Our body temperature normally it should be 35, around 35 degrees Celsius. Even if it rises by just 2 degrees Celsius, we get fever. So that is the power in temperature. Now they say global warming is there, right? Global warming means the temperature of Earth atmosphere is increasing. Now, how much it has increased in last century, like in last 100 years, it has increased by just 4 degrees Celsius, right? But 4 degrees Celsius has also caused very much damage to the environment, right? So every degree Celsius rise in global warming is very dangerous, right? So in Corona period, in first wave, when everywhere there was lockdown, all the transportation was stopped, air flights were stopped, vehicles were not allowed on road. In that case, there was observed. So I hope there was a reduction in global warming because all these pollutants they cause increase in temperature of the atmosphere. Okay, right. So the correct answer I have not calculated, but I hope it will be nearer to whatever you have calculated. It may be nearer to 37.78 degree Celsius, right? Right. So this is a conversion. You can write it down. Okay. So I will erase this whatever I have written here. So write it down. This one. Write down this temperature conversion. So Kelvin equal to degree Celsius plus 275 3.15. So like if I say temperature is 10 degrees Celsius plus 273 will give you in Kelvin. This is a conversion of Rankine from Fahrenheit. This is a conversion of Fahrenheit from degree Celsius. This is a conversion of Rankine from Kelvin. Okay. So that is why when the Kelvin temperature is 0, Rankine temperature will also be 0 because 1.8 into 0 will be 0. So you can see here when the Kelvin is 0, this is also 0. Okay. So write this down, temperature scales. So last 2 years, when I was teaching a DSY batch, I was shocked that time many of the students, DSY students, were not knowing this simple conversion. Okay. So you better write it down because all the numericals what will solve, there you have to convert degrees Celsius into Kelvin, right? Now see here, another very common sense is there. If I want to take temperature difference, right? I want to take temperature difference T1 minus T2, or we generally call it as a delta T, right? Delta T. Now see in this case, if I take temperature in degrees Celsius, let us say T1 is 30 and T2 is 20, right? Now what will be the delta T? Delta T will be 10 degrees Celsius, 30 minus 20, right? Now if I convert, so this is in degrees Celsius. Now if I want to convert into Kelvin, what will be the 30 degrees Celsius? This will be 303 Kelvin, right? Approximately 303, okay? And what will be the 20 degrees Celsius in Kelvin? That will be 293, right? And what will the delta T, right? What will the delta T here? What will be the delta T here? Right? It will be again 10. Okay, it will be again 10. So when there is a delta T temperature difference we have to take, then there is no need to again convert degree Celsius into Kelvin because ultimately delta T will be same. But this is not case with the division. If you want to take division, let us say you want to take the division of T1 divided by T2. T1 divided by T2. Now calculate 30 by 20. How much it will become? It will become 1.5. And calculate 303 by 293. How much it will become? Yes, how much it will become? 303 by 293. .03. Okay, 1.03. So take care. When there is a division is there you cannot take chances. There you have to convert degrees Celsius into Kelvin. When there is a division, so it doesn't matter if you convert Kelvin into Celsius or Celsius into Kelvin. But when there is a division, that time you have to convert degree Celsius into Kelvin. So this is a common mistake which is made by students. They do not convert degree Celsius into Kelvin, and there this answer becomes wrong. Once this answer becomes wrong, then subsequent steps will be also wrong, and final answer will be totally wrong. So take care in examples, right? Okay, I hope you understood this temperature scales. Very easy point. Our next property here it is pressure. Very, very important property. Just a minute. Okay, so next property is pressure. Pressure and temperature are very basic properties. What is the pressure? So you can type in the chat box whatever definition you have studied up to this point. Pressure is very multi domain term. It can be used in mechanics, it can be used in thermal, right? It can be used in chemistry, it can be used in nuclear physics, it can be used in even here this what is this study of space, what do you call that, astronomy or something. In that also pressure is studied. So pressure is very multi-domain term. It has different meaning in every domain, right? So whatever you know about the pressure, you can type into the chat box. I will take the, forward from that point. Okay. Yes. So one answer is there, perpendicular force per unit area. Okay. So what about other participants? Why they are not responding? I don't know. What about this person, Kedar Abhyankar, Prasad Sherke, Kalyani Bosle, Ram Bolte, Aditya Nakate, Swapnil Lamkane, Diptesh Redekar, Abhay Ronge, Sakshi More, Vinayak Gunje, Yash Tigre. So what about this participant? Why they are not responding? So ultimately, every one of you is paying fees to the college, right? If you are investing in something, if you are investing in education, make sure you get maximum profit out of it, right? So any investment where you're not getting profit, that is a failed investment, right? If I want to open a shop and if I take a loan from bank, right? I do the shop for, let us say, 1 year, and when I have to file the IT returns, if I found out that there is a net loss of 50,000 rupees. Now, what is the meaning of that, right? If I do the business, if it is failing, then there is no point in doing that. So invest, if you are investing your time and money in classes, in academics, make sure you are making good use of that. So many of the students face the problem that they are addicted to the social networking sites, or sometimes students face through relationship problems also. Sometimes students face addictions problems. We have seen that. So what I say in that case is that your focus is not clear. You don't know what you have to become. Okay, once you know what you have to become, in that case, all the universe, all the forces will be with you. They will tell you, do not do that thing, do this thing. So inner voice will tell you what to do. Okay, and you can practice meditation if you want. It will also help you, right? But focus is important. Once you know what you have to do in your life, automatically things will fall in place. You will start doing the thing which you are supposed to do. You will drop the things which you are not supposed to do. Okay, right? And education and academics are a very assured investment, because you will either get job, or you will either prepare for competitive examinations, or either you will start a business, or you will continue the education and become teacher like myself in future. So there is lot of opportunities are there. This is a assured investment, right? But if you pay attention, if you only invest and don't pay attention, in that case it will be a failed investment, right? So the answers are here in chat box. Most answers are related to engineering mechanics. Force divided by area, perpendicular force per unit area, physical force exerted on or against an object, force per unit area, force per unit area, P by A, applied force divided by area. Now, this definition is applicable to engineering mechanics, no doubt, right? Suppose this is a sheet of metal in 3D, I have drawn it, and you apply a force, right? You apply a force on it, right? Now it is assumed that every point in this sheet there is a force is acting, and force is acting in uniform way. It is not that force is acting only in center area. It is acting continuously or uniformly on the sheet. In that case, if you take this point, you want to calculate what is the force is acting on this point. So here you have to divide force divided by its unit area. So F by A, F by area of this sheet, this much amount of force is acting on this point, right? Then F by A, this much amount of force is acting on this point, right? The total force is F is acting on whole sheet. So F by A, in other terms, it is referred as pressure. So that is a solid mechanics definition, right? What about fluid mechanics, or what about thermal, right? So the definitions have different meaning here. If you take example, let us say you take example of fluid mechanics. So let us say this is a tank. This is a tank filled with water, right? You have a pipe coming out of it, right? And the water is supplied, right? Now what will happen in this case? It is said that at this elevation, the pressure is high. right? And at this elevation, pressure is low. Okay. When the water will flow from high elevation to low elevation, pressure energy will be converted into kinetic energy. So as the water will flow from top to bottom, its velocity will increase. Or in other words, its kinetic energy will increase, right? Another mistake what we do generally, आपलं ते बोलण्यातनं मराठीतनं ती फार मोठी मिस्टेक होऊन जाते आपले बोलताना की आपण म्हणतो पाईप मधून प्रेशरने पाणी येते, राईट? So it is not actually pressure. Yes, it is, the flow is occurring because of pressure difference. But what we are referring in that case is velocity. म्हणजे फार जास्त velocity ना किंवा speed ना पाणी येते. That is a correct thing. फार pressure ने पाणी बाहेर येते, so that is not correct thing. Okay. So pressure is oftenly misunderstood in our thermal and fluid area. Okay, I hope you understood what I mean. So this was the example given for fluid mechanics. If you take example of, let us say, thermal. In thermal, let us say example I will give you of piston and cylinder. Initially, let us say this is a piston which is acting at this point, right? So initially, let us say pressure was P1, volume was V1, right? Now what I will do? I will compress the air. I will compress the air. Air is compressible. It is assumed. So I will compress the air. Now what will happen? In this case, the volume will decrease as well as the pressure will increase. So pressure will increase and volume will decrease. Right? So what was the pressure initially? Pressure here in this case is not like this, F by area. Here pressure is mean at very microscopic level. If you take every molecule of this gas, right? If you take the molecule, every molecule in the gas, it is under some pressure. So yes, so ultimately it means force per unit area. So that is how it is been calculated pressure, but it is interpreted in different way. Here the definition was very simple in solid mechanics. There is a sheet of metal which is acting, a force is acting on it. You divide the sheet of metal or area of the sheet F by A, so that will give you pressure. That was very simple definition, but in thermal you have to imagine it, right? In thermal you have to imagine it. Initially the pressure may be P1, the gas is under atmospheric pressure. So once I compress this gas, the pressure will increase, right? So this way you have to imagine it in thermal. In fluid, actually it is again very simpler because at higher elevations, the potential energy is high. Fluid having higher pressure energy. When the fluid will flow from higher potential to the lower potential, its pressure energy is converted into kinetic energy, right? Or potential energy is converted into kinetic energy, right? So whenever next time you will say pressure ni pani lagle, so it is not under, so it is not pressure. You are referring actually to the velocity or speed ni pani lagle. And why there is a speed? Because there is a large pressure difference. Another example I will give you. It is very global example is there. It is related to why winds are created, right? आपण आता लास्ट इयर मध्ये बघितलं बरेचसे चक्रीवादळ येऊन गेले त्याच्यामुळे पाऊस झाले. So why this rain is created, why these winds are created, why these hurricanes are created, how weather is changed. So this is all related to thermodynamics. This is all related to thermodynamics. This is due to the difference in pressure. So always remember any fluid. So a fluid can be gas, a fluid can be liquid. It always flow from higher pressure to lower pressure. It is as equivalent to electrical energy. In electrical, we have studied. In basic electrical, you might have studied. The current flows from higher voltage to lower voltage, right? Similarly, in our case, the fluid will always flow from higher pressure to lower pressure, right? So this way, somewhere in the sea, a low pressure point is created. Somewhere there is higher pressure, and the wind starts flowing from higher pressure to lower pressure. This way the winds are created. Why the monsoons are created, that also you can study, right, in your free time. Instead of wasting your time on Facebook or Insta Reels, you can check actual information, why winds are created, why this weather is like this, why India has three weathers, while other continents have only two weathers. So that way also you can study. It is all related to the pressure and temperature. Somewhere temperature is higher, somewhere temperature is lower. Where temperature is lower, their density is high. Where temperature is high, their density is low. So again, the fluid will flow from higher density to lower density. So like that way, God has created this universe. If you go away from Earth, again the definition of pressure is different. These all planets revolve around sun under the gravitational force, right? So there is some pressure is definitely acting in every planet. Again, the solar system is part of some another Milky Way. In Milky Way, we have thousands of such solar system. They are again revolving in that. They are under again some another pressure. Again, such thousands of Milky Ways are there in the entire universe. So again, this will be under some pressure. So pressure is everywhere. Pressure is there in your examination also. You study for whole night, but when the exam opens, you see the exam paper, pressure is still there. So when you will submit your paper, that time only you will feel, aha, now I am relaxed. Now I have given my paper. आता किती मार्क पडाय तिकडे पडू दे. Your pressure is released, right? So pressure is very multiverse term is there. It can be used anywhere, right? But you should know, right? In solid mechanics, it is a very straightforward definition: force per unit area. In thermal, you have to imagine it a little bit, right? So definition: normal force exerted by a fluid per unit area, right? So these are its units. Okay, these are the units of the pressure. We'll see one by one. So basic unit of pressure in SI units is Pascal. Okay, 1 Pascal is equivalent to 1 Newton per meter square. So write it down. 1 kilopascal, obviously this will be kilo means 10 to power 3 pascals. 1 megapascal, obviously mega means 10 to power 6. Another very important unit here, it is bar. 1 bar is equivalent to 10 to power 5 pascals or 0.1 megapascal or 100 kilopascals. So generally it is said that atmospheric pressure is 1 bar, nearly 1 bar. Next is atmospheric pressure. Atmospheric pressure means where we are sitting now. जिथं आपण सध्या आपल्यावर देखील एक atmospheric pressure act होत असते, आपल्याला जाणवत नाही, right? Okay, so when we try to swim, आपल्याला ज्या स्विमिंग करत असतो, ज्यावेळेस आम्ही पाण्याखाली जातो, again in that case another pressure is acting on you, right? So when you are in air, another different pressure is acting. When you are under water, in that case another pressure is acting on you. So it depends on environment also. Okay, so one atmospheric pressure is 101,325 pascal or 101.325 kilopascal, or we can say approximately 1 bar, right? Okay, write it down. Okay, last year it is 1 kg force per centimeter square. It is actually an acceleration due to gravity 9.81 Newton per meter square. So that is acceleration due to gravity. It also can be termed as 0.981 bar. Okay. Right. So another units are there for pressure. When you go to the automobile workshop, in that case, you feel the air into your tire tubes. तुम्ही चाकात ज्यावेळेस हवा भरता त्यावेळेस एक गेज असतो प्रेशर गेज त्यावरचं युनिट असतंय पाउंड्स पर स्क्वेअर इंच मध्ये PSI मध्ये राईट सो अगेन दॅट युनिट इज डिफरंट तुम्ही जनरली काय म्हणता की पुढच्या चाकात 25 मागच्या चाकात 35 असे हवा ठेवा सो दॅट इज इन PSI पाउंड्स पर स्क्वेअर इंच सो अगेन its units changes from application in our thermal we generally go with bar and when we go with this automobile sector we generally deal with PSI, pounds per square inch. Okay. Yes, so English units. So these are the SI units. Next is English units. Here we have PSI, pounds per square inch. Right. So pounds is nothing but is given in the terms of LB. LB is pound, and this is force per inch square. Right. 1 atmosphere is equivalent to 14.69 PSI. Okay, so remember, so when you next time go to the automobile workshop, ज्यावेळेस हवा भरायला जाल तुमच्या व्हेकलच्या चाकामध्ये हवा भरायला जाचाल त्यावेळेस तुम्ही नक्की चेक कराल ते प्रेशर गेज तुम्हाला त्या युनिट सापडतील ऍक्च्युली आपण काय करतो पुढच्या चाकात नेहमी कमी हवा ठेवतो मागच्यात जास्त ठेवतो काहीतरी ऍडजस्टमेंट आपण करतो राईट इन दॅट केस So write this down also. 1 atmosphere is equivalent to 14.696 PSI pounds per square inch. So now next is a very important concept here: absolute pressure, gauge pressure, vacuum pressure. So we'll see that. What is the absolute pressure? Actual pressure at a given condition. Measure related to absolute vacuum, that is absolute zero pressure. That is the datum is zero pressure. I will tell you with the help of example also here. Let us first see the theory. Pressure gauges are generally designed to indicate zero at local atmospheric pressure. Right. So this is a pressure gauge. Okay. So here the units are not given. Okay, unit is given in bar. So this unit is in bar. So zero means zero. Zero doesn't mean zero absolute pressure. Here, absolute pressure may be something. Absolute pressure is generally taken it as a 1 atmosphere. So that is a generally assume in case of pressure gauges. If you indicate the 100 value here, that means 100 plus atmospheric pressure. That will be absolute pressure. Okay, so I will show you. Let me check if there is a diagram. Okay. I will show you with the help of diagram, you will understand. So what they are saying here it is, there is an absolute datum of zero pressure, 0 Pascal pressure. There is zero pressure is present. Okay. Now there is another level which is called as 1 atmospheric level. 1 atmospheric level. Okay. Now, if you measure the temperature above this, that will be gauge pressure. That will be gauge pressure because it is measured with the help of a gauge. Okay. So sorry because I don't have tab today with me. I have to draw with the mouse. So this is a gauge pressure. Any pressure measured above atmospheric conditions, that is gauge pressure. Now, if this is a gauge pressure, if you measure with the help of absolute zero pressure, this will be your absolute pressure. This will be your absolute pressure. Okay. And any temperature, or sorry, any pressure you measure below zero absolute or zero pressure conditions, that will be a vacuum. That will be a vacuum. So wait. Yes. Okay. Now any pressure you measure below atmospheric, so that will be vacuum pressure. Okay, that will be vacuum pressure. Okay, I hope you are understanding what I'm trying to say here. There is always a zero pressure datum is there. There is another datum of 1 atmospheric pressure. To measure pressure above atmospheric conditions, generally which is showed with the help of such pressure gauges, that will be gauge pressure. If your pressure is below atmospheric, so that value will be vacuum pressure, and that way you can calculate it. Okay, so we'll see one by one what they're saying. Pressure gauges are generally designed to indicate zero at local atmospheric conditions. Hence, the difference is known as gauge pressure. So gauge pressure is absolute pressure minus atmospheric pressure. So here, how to calculate this gauge pressure? Absolute pressure is this much minus atmospheric pressure. So that will give you gauge pressure. Okay. Pressure less than local atmospheric pressure is known as vacuum pressure. This is again very distinct branch of fluid engineering, pneumatics and vacuum. So in pneumatics, actually this term comes vacuum. Whole industry is there, which is related to pneumatics and vacuum. So if you see automobile assembly lines, in that case, you will observe such pneumatics and vacuum holders are there. Now, by the principle of vacuum, they are catching the things and then they're assembling. So in case of glass also, if there is a big glass is there, if you want to move from one location to another location, in that case, they are making use of vacuum hands. So like there is a machine hand is there, at its mouth there is a vacuum is there. So it creates, because of vacuum, it attaches to the glass and it can lift the glass, right? So such power is there in vacuum also. So how to calculate vacuum? P atmospheric minus P absolute. So here in this case, if the vacuum, let me show you. If you are measuring the pressure below atmospheric, so let us say this is the pressure you have measured. So this is a new absolute pressure, right? From zero datum. And the difference between atmospheric pressure and absolute pressure. So this difference is nothing but vacuum pressure. Okay. So most generally we deal with gauge pressure. Very few times we have to deal with vacuum, like in case of condensers. So in condensers, it is assumed that they work under vacuum conditions. Okay. So if you have any doubt up to this point, you can ask. Right. So write it down. Gauge pressure is equal to absolute pressure minus atmospheric pressure. And vacuum pressure is equal to atmospheric pressure minus absolute pressure. You can draw this diagram also. So this datum here it is what I showed previously. This is a zero pressure datum. This is a atmospheric pressure datum. Any pressure, sorry, this is a atmospheric pressure datum. Any pressure measured above atmospheric condition, that is gauge pressure. Any pressure which is measured below atmospheric condition is a vacuum pressure. So draw this diagram and draw this also, because this will again come back in our last chapter, that is not last chapter, in chapter number 5, I think, in the chapter of condenser. Again, we have to study this. Again, in last year, in refrigeration, air conditioning, that way also you have to study this. So better you get clear understanding of these terms. Pressure gauge or gauge pressure is absolute pressure minus atmospheric pressure. What is that? One atmospheric pressure? That is 101.325 kilopascal. Vacuum pressure is atmospheric pressure minus absolute pressure. So write it down and then we can stop. So let me know when we'll finish drawing this. Okay. I'll write a question in the chat box. Let us see how many of you can solve it. Okay, so those who have finished drawing, they can check the question in the chat box and you can reply to it. Okay. Yes. Patil Satyajit, Aditya Jadhav, Premila Dange, Sanket Verakkar, Aviraj Natyar, Ayush Wale, Akanksha Jagtap. So try to answer the question which is dropped in the chat box and then we can stop. So the question here it is, if a pressure gauge, so there is a pressure measuring device, it shows the value as a 10 kilopascal, right? What is the absolute pressure? What is the absolute pressure? What is the absolute pressure? Right, you can put your answer in kilopascal. If you want to put your answer in bar, no problem. So there, calculate again. The answer is wrong. Yes. Anybody? First draw whatever there on the screen and then try to solve. Yes, Pragati, what is the unit of your answer? Please write that also. Kilopascal. No, I think you are not written the unit convergence on the previous slide. Once again, I will show you this. So these are the unit convergence. You can check again. So that is why I'm saying try to write it down. If you're not writing it, then definitely your answer will be wrong. Okay. Aditi. Yes, Aditi, your answer is right. Vaibhav, your answer is also right. Pragati, again calculate. Check the answer again. Savari, yes, your answer is also correct. We are given in terms of bar. Your answer is also correct. So good that you are following. That is a very good thing. So others also calculate and try to be with your colleagues. परत त्यांना पिडू नका की काय झालं लेक्चरला मला समजावून सांग किंवा ज्यावेळेस एक्झाम येईल त्यावेळेस तुम्ही त्यांच्यावर सगळा भार टाकणार काय झालं समजावून सांग बिकॉज द स्टुडंट्स हु आर सिन्सिअर they have other priorities also. I have seen such students, they finish their study as soon as possible because they have other responsibilities at home or other extracurricular activities. Now if you go approach sincere students and tell them please explain me, it is like time wastage to them. Okay, don't waste their time. So all of you pay attention. Right? Prasad, okay, good. So I think you understood the concept of temperature and pressure scales here. Right, this was the diagram for it. In next lecture, we'll go with the ideal gas equation. Then we'll start the laws of the thermodynamic. Okay. So laws of the thermodynamic. There are total 4 laws are there. So you may be aware of first law, second law. Then there is third law. Then there is another law which is a zeroth law. Actually, that zeroth law was invented after first law. But how to say that? So how to align that in hierarchy? So that is why they named it as a zeroth law. Okay. So this is for our next lecture, ideal gas equation. Then we'll study ideal gas equation. Then we'll see thermal equilibrium. Then we'll see heat and work. Right. After briefly understanding what is heat, what is work, what is the formula for heat and work, then we can go to the zeroth law. Okay. So a lot of definitions and basic concept we have to understand. Once you understand that, then we can move further. So please write down your roll number in the chat box. Then we can stop. Just simply write the number. Don't write SB, SA, anything. Just type the number. Ronge Raviraj. Try to answer questions also. Who is extra there? Ayush Wade, roll number 60. So try to answer the questions when I asked. Shri Hari Chawan. Prasad Shirke. Okay, Prasad Shirke has given answers. Good. Okay, so what I'm saying that you, if you are investing your money and time, try to give attention, try to make maximum profit out of it, right? Shubham. Okay. Okay, so we'll stop here. I will also upload this recording in our study material. So those who have missed, they can go back to the study material and they can check the lectures, right? So with this, we'll stop today. Thank you for attending. Have a good day. Shivraj. Okay, so others can leave the meeting. Shivraj, I will explain you later